I've been spending time with a good friend more recently, but I think he's only doing it so he can look at my daughter. July 27th, 2024. The last few months, I've been chatting to a friend more regularly than previous. We've been friends for over a decade, and we used to be really close, but we slowly drifted apart. I should probably mention we are both men in our 40s. It's been great catching up with him, and honestly, I really needed a friend, so it's just been great. He's got a long-term girlfriend and 2 young children. A couple of months ago, we visited his house for the first time. He recently moved, and we weren't speaking much before that, just an occasional comment on Facebook. And me, my 14-year-old son and 20-year-old daughter spent a few hours honestly just chatting about nothing but in a good way. While we were there, I noticed that he kept looking at my daughter out of the corner of his eye. I never really caught him fully looking, so I thought nothing of it, especially as he has known my kids for over a decade. I didn't mention it to my daughter as I didn't want to make her feel uncomfortable if it was nothing. A couple of months went past and we visited them again. He kept talking to my daughter and not really to me, which is fine, but it just seemed odd when my daughter has really bad anxiety and she can't really hold a conversation, and she makes it clear when she's uncomfortable talking. He just seemed to keep looking at her and talking. Even if he was talking to me, he would just look at her. The final straw was last week. We visited them and we've been having a heat wave, so we were all dressed in as minimal as possible. My daughter in a thin pair of shorts and a t-shirt, my son in a pair of athletic shorts and a gym top, and me in a polo shirt and white chino shorts. Nothing unusual, just basic summer wear. When we were in conversation, he would look at my daughter. When anyone told a joke, he would smirk a little or give a small laugh depending. But if my daughter told something mildly funny, he would really laugh to the point that even she would look awkward. He kept dropping out of conversation and just staring at her. I think she noticed it as well because she started to lean back in her chair to try to cover herself, even though she was fine. She looked uncomfortable. Then when the sun set, she put on a thick jacket and zipped it up. I don't know if he's just trying to be friendly and he doesn't know how to act, or if he's only inviting us round to stare at her, and if so, then I don't know what to do. Yes, she's 20, but she's still my little girl, and this man watched her grow up. It just seems strange. I don't know if I should say something or just don't go around there again. Either way, I think it's the end of the friendship, which is a shame, but oh well. Update post, July 29th. 2024, 2 days later. Update from my last post. I spoke to my daughter about the whole thing and wanted to know what she thought about it all because I didn't want to say anything if she didn't think it was odd. She told me that after the first time we saw him again, a few months ago, he had appeared outside her work after she finished her shift and asked if she wanted a lift home instead of getting the bus. She said that since he was a good friend of mine, she trusted him and got in his car. On the ride home, he repeatedly touched her leg and started talking about how much she's changed since he saw her last before we all met up and how much of an adult she looks now. He told her she's growing into her body like a good girl. My daughter said that she would walk the rest of the way home because she didn't want to put him out too much, but he insisted on driving her all the way. She said she kept moving away from him, but he was leaning to touch her knees. She said that at a red light not long before the house, he gave her his mobile number and texted himself from her phone and told her to call him if she wanted a lift or anything else. In the last few months since then, he has repeatedly been sending her explicit texts and images and waiting outside her work asking her if she would like a lift home, even though every time she's said no. She said she didn't want to say anything because she didn't want to upset me as he was the only friend I had. I feel sick thinking about this. This is my daughter. She's 20, but she's still my little girl, and I feel like I've put her in danger. I've messaged him asking him to stop contacting my family, and I've sent him the screenshots from her phone as reasons why, but he is messaging me asking me why when she is an adult, and the only sleazy thing he's done is cheat on his girlfriend, as my daughter never physically said the word stop. She just ignored him. I'm so angry at him and myself. Edit. I'd like to say thanks to everyone for the advice. Also, I've been getting a lot of mom comments, and although I appreciate the sentiment very much, I am her dad. Unfortunately, her mom passed away quite a few years ago, but I really appreciate that everyone thought I was her mom. It really is the biggest compliment to me. I must be doing something right. We went and spoke to our local police, and they couldn't really help us as she had willingly gotten into his car. They did say that as we have spoken to him already, they could keep a file open, and if it continues, then they would be able to take action. Honestly, it seems that they don't really care about it at all, which is alarming and upsetting. We sent the screenshots and an explanation to his girlfriend, and we've had some missed calls from him, but that's not our problem. We've blocked him on everything and have completely removed him from every social media. My daughter has spoken to her work, and they have said that until she is able to find another job, they will ensure that at least one other member of staff will wait with her for the bus, and I will be meeting her at the first stop in our town to take her directly home on days I'm not working, and on days I am, then her grandparents will be picking her up. She is safe. I also had a lot of comments suggesting I get violent with this man. Although I do appreciate that a lot of people would be choosing the other route of resolving the problem face to face, I'm not like that. I'd like to be. I'd like to say that there's no problem I couldn't solve that way, but that's simply not me. It doesn't make me a bad dad either. I found another way to solve the problem and make sure my daughter is safe and comfortable. Thank you all for your help and advice. It's nice to find some support through the internet sometimes. Relevant comments. Commenter: it's not your fault, but you need to have a sit down and talk through the socialization for women to be nice and how to get past that mental block. This is something a lot of us go through, and it puts us in really awful situations. Help her understand that her safety is the most important thing. She doesn't have to be nice or put up with things like this. There's probably some very eloquent people who can speak to this topic on YouTube. It's not me, but I want to make sure she knows she doesn't have to take this shit for the rest of her life, even with the anxiety and desire not to rock any boats. OOP. I've told her many times growing up that if she doesn't feel comfortable doing something, no matter what it is, then she needs to say that. It doesn't matter if it upsets someone or offends someone. All that matters is that she is safe and comfortable. I'm hoping that she will be like this from now on, and I just hope that she knows I'm here for her no matter what. Also, there's an update to the post. Thank you for your comment. Get her a weapon. We're in the UK, so she's legally not allowed any weapons, including pepper spray. The only thing she is allowed is an alarm, which she already had anyway. We are looking into some objects which can be carried around legally or discreetly. Currently, we are looking into a key ring, which is like a long, sharpened stick, though there's not many places willing to ship them to us. I'm so very sorry to hear what you have been through, and I wish you well throughout your life. I, F35, threw away old photos of my husband, M44, with his late wife years ago. He just found out and hates me for it. October 27th, 2017. This is a throwaway, as I do not want this connected to my main Reddit account for reasons that will become apparent if they aren't already are. I met my husband 4 years ago, and it was love at first sight. He was a widower and had a daughter, now 17. It was tough to deal with, I won't lie, but I wanted to be with him so badly that it didn't matter. We got married 2 years ago, and we've had our struggles, I won't deny, but overall, it has been a very happy, love-filled marriage. At the beginning of our relationship, I was really jealous of his late wife. He had pictures of her around his home. His family loved her and talked about her. His daughter, he same thing. His friends, the same. It was tough. I was comparing myself to her. She was beautiful, intelligent, successful. She was a great mother, friend, wife, whatever you can think of. I know that people don't like to speak ill of the dead, but I believe them when they say these things. I did speak to my then boyfriend about these feelings, and he even took down some of the pictures later in our relationship. Still, his house never felt like my home as it felt like it was still hers. When we got engaged, we decided we would buy our own home, and we moved in right before we got married. Side note, this was very stressful with the wedding so soon after, would not recommend. During the moving process, I found box after box of old photos and other materials. Photos of his ex, family photos, photos of them together, baby photos, everything. Some of these were Polaroid, they were so old. They had been together for many, many years and had so much history together. I don't know why at that moment I snapped, but I did. I threw the ones with her away. When we were putting photos up in the new house, I didn't put any of her except one with my stepdaughter. There was a box of her things and I donated some of the items and threw the rest away. I even went onto the computer and deleted photos he had stored on there. At the time, I felt like I won maybe. I don't even know what I was thinking this would accomplish, but I did it. For the past 2 years, my husband hasn't noticed. My stepdaughter turns 18 soon. She's a very intelligent girl. She graduated early, goes to a top-tier school, and is very well adjusted for someone who lost her mother so young. We have never been that close. I care for her, I do, but she never opened up to me and has never viewed me as a mom to her. I understand, but it hurts. Anyway, my husband's mom wanted photos of her as she was putting something together for her. He went to look for them, and as you can imagine, they weren't there. He asked me about them, and I admitted everything to him, as I wasn't going to lie to him. He is very angry at me and can barely look at me. I've asked him to go to marriage counseling, but he refuses. I'm 13 weeks pregnant and am trying to manage the stress. He's devastated, not just for his daughter, but for himself. I know he loved his late wife very much, and if she was still here, he'd probably still be with her. He's been in tears half the time when he's speaking to me and won't sleep in the same room as me. I have tried to explain that I have felt guilty ever since and why I did it, but he doesn't care. He asked me what he's supposed to tell his daughter. Some of the materials I donated threw away were really important. I know that I screwed up. I know that I need to make this up to my husband and his daughter, but I don't know how to. This was such a monumental screw-up on my part. I have always been jealous of her, and I did not handle my emotions correctly. I have tried to track down photos of her by other people, and while I did find some from his parents and her friends, her parents died when she was young, and she was raised by her grandparents, who are now dead. There aren't many out there. Reddit, I love my husband, and I want to fix this more than anything. I know that I am hormonal right now, and my mind is wandering around to every outcome that could happen, but what if this is the end of my marriage? I can't let that happen, and I need to fix this. ELDR. Around 2 years ago, I threw threw away photos of my husband's late wife. He found out and now can't stand to be around me and is so sad. How can I fix this? What can I do? I screwed up. I need help. Relevant comments. OP. I will not try to justify it to him at all. I know it is indefensible. He's never done anything to make me feel like he didn't love me. My mom asked me years ago if I was okay with this, as she didn't think I was. She was right, but I loved my husband so much already that it didn't matter to me. I have struggled with being impulsive before, but it's never been this bad. Commenter. At the time, I felt like I won, maybe? She's dead. Of course you won. Jesus Christ. What you did was so beyond wrong, it was inexcusable. It was evil, not just to him, but you threw away photos of your stepdaughter's mother because you felt you were somehow in competition with her? This is unfixable. If your marriage ends because of this, it will be because you made a horrible choice. All you can do is pray your husband forgives you. Get into counseling immediately. What you did was so ugly. You need to figure out what the hell is wrong with you that you would do something like that to somebody you claim to love. OP. I know that she's dead. I have always been jealous of her, and it was all in my own head. I was very insecure because I know that if she was here, we wouldn't be together, and it drove me crazy. It wasn't right, and I should speak to someone alone about it. My stepmother threw away my late mother's possessions 5 years ago, March 21st. 2023, 6 years later. My 23F late mom died over 10 years ago, and over 9 years ago, my dad, 49M, remarried my stepmother. My stepmother and I never were close. I missed my mom like crazy and would try to talk to stepmother about her, but she didn't seem interested. Every time my mother was mentioned, she'd stop engaging in conversation and just go on her phone or walk away. When I was 17, my grandmother had told me that she was creating something special for my 18th birthday. I asked for a hint, and she said it had to do with someone I missed a lot. That night, I cried a lot. I knew she was going to create something to do with my mother. A while after that, my dad called me. He said he had bad news while sniffling. He said that my stepmother threw away all my mom's possessions. Not one thing was left, not even sentimental items. I started crying, and my dad comforted me over the call and then started crying with me. I know you aren't supposed to make major decisions when you are emotional because it can lead to reckless behavior, but I was so mad and sad that I decided to drive to my dad's house. My grandmother opened the door, but I just walked past her. I went straight to my stepmother. I started yelling at her, calling her something along the lines of jealous, vindictive, bitch. I said a lot of vile words. I told her I never wanted to talk to her again. She tried to apologize, but I just blocked out everything she was saying. I ignored what everyone was saying and just left. Since then, my half-brother was born. I have nothing against him, but I barely visit him. My dad didn't immediately forgive my stepmom. He stayed for half-brother, and after 3 years of the couple's counseling and therapy, he forgave her, although their relationship was never the same. Some family members have told me I'm being dramatic. They told me to get over it. It's been 5 years. It doesn't matter how many years it will be since she did that. 5 since I knew, and 7 since she did that, but I will never forgive her. No amount of apologies will bring back those memories.